Humans kept fighting after death. That was the first report. I dismissed it immediately. The Galactic Dominion had conquered 4,000 worlds. We had catalogued millions of species. We understood biology better than any civilization in recorded history. Dead things stay dead. That was not a theory. That was reality. Yet the battlefield reports continued. Again, and again, and again. I was Supreme Strategist Varex of the 9th Expansion Fleet. My task was simple. Force Earth's surrender. 3 days. That was all we granted. 3 days before orbital cleansing. 3 days before humanity vanished. The humans responded by sending a single ambassador. Just one. I remember the moment clearly. The conference chamber floated above Earth's atmosphere. Dominion banners covered every wall. 22 species sat around the circular council table. The human entered alone. No guards. No weapons. No fear. I immediately identified the behavior pattern. Submission ritual. Many primitive species smiled when cornered. Their nervous systems released stress chemicals. Facial muscles contracted. A biological coping mechanism. The human smiled. I marked him as defeated. That was my first mistake. Earth has received your ultimatum, he said. His voice remained steady. No trembling. No signs of panic. Interesting. I studied his heartbeat through internal sensors. Perfectly calm. Impossible. The Dominion fleet outside contained enough firepower to erase continents. Why was he calm? The ambassador looked around the room. Then he smiled wider. You have 3 days, he asked. I noticed several council members exchanging confused glances. Correct, I answered. The human nodded slowly. Then he laughed. Laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber. I immediately revised my assessment. Psychological collapse. The human mind was breaking under pressure. That explanation satisfied me. For approximately 8 seconds. Then the ambassador said something strange. No. He shook his head. You won't last 3 seconds. Silence. Absolute silence. Then half the council erupted with laughter. I did not. Something felt wrong. The human was not bluffing. I could not explain why, but every instinct screamed danger. The ambassador stood. His smile never faded. See you soon. Then he left. That was all. No negotiations. No demands. No surrender. Nothing. Just a smile. And a warning. I watched his shuttle descend toward Earth. For the first time in decades, I felt uncertainty. I hated uncertainty. So I ordered a complete analysis of humanity. Every file. Every historical record. Every military engagement. Everything. The results arrived 4 hours later. I spent the entire night reviewing them. By dawn, I was confused. Human history made no sense. Most intelligent species followed predictable development patterns. Humans did not. Every major event contradicted established survival logic. They fought each other constantly, destroyed resources, invented increasingly effective ways to kill, yet somehow survived. No, more than survived. Expanded, adapted, thrived. I found a recurring pattern. Whenever humans encountered impossible circumstances, they became more dangerous. That was backwards. Fear should reduce aggression. Stress should weaken performance. Humans did the opposite. The more desperate they became, the harder they fought. Fascinating, but not threatening. Many species displayed irrational behavior. None had ever stopped the Dominion. I closed the report. Case solved. Humans were reckless. Nothing more. My second mistake. The first attack happened 17 hours later. No warning. No declaration. No fleet engagement. One moment our orbital network functioned normally. The next moment, 73 communication relays exploded simultaneously. Across 3 different sectors. Impossible. The locations were light years apart. No vessel could reach them that quickly. I stared at the damage reports. Sabotage? No. The security recordings showed nothing. No intruders. No weapons. Nothing. Just sudden destruction. Engineers rushed to investigate. Then things became stranger. Every destroyed relay contained the same message. Burned directly into internal systems. 6 words. 3 days is too generous. The message spread through headquarters like a virus. Who planted it? How? Nobody knew. I immediately blamed human infiltrators. It was the only logical explanation. Humans were sneaky, deceptive, primitive. That conclusion comforted me. For 6 hours, then the mining colony vanished. Not destroyed, vanished. An entire Dominion facility disappeared from sensors. 8,000 personnel. Gone. The colony simply stopped existing. Emergency fleets arrived immediately. They found empty space. Nothing else. No debris. No radiation. No signs of attack. Just absence. Like reality had forgotten the colony existed. Panic began spreading through lower command levels. I refused to panic. There had to be an explanation. Humans could not erase matter. No species could. The laws of physics prohibited it. Then a survivor appeared. One. Only one. An escape pod drifted into Dominion space. The occupant was barely alive. I personally questioned him. His scales trembled uncontrollably. His eyes remained fixed on nothing. Trauma response. Severe. What happened? I demanded. The survivor struggled to speak. Finally he whispered. Humans. Of course. How? The survivor stared at me. Then something unexpected happened. He started crying. My species does not cry. Few species do. The sound disturbed me. How? I repeated. The survivor's voice cracked. They were already there. I felt irritation. Where? Inside. Inside what? The colony? The station? The walls? His answer made no sense. They were inside. Then he died. No further explanation. No evidence. Nothing useful. I dismissed his testimony. Hallucinations were common during extreme trauma. Humans could not be everywhere. That was absurd. Yet the unease remained. I reviewed Earth's surveillance feeds personally. The planet appeared normal. Cities functioned. Traffic moved. Humans worked. A child chased a small animal through a park. An elderly female fed birds. A group gathered around a street performer. Ordinary. Completely ordinary. That disturbed me more. Why? Because they should have been terrified. The largest invasion fleet in galactic history hovered above their world. Their extinction deadline approached. Yet they acted normal. Why? What did they know? I enlarged one surveillance image. The same human ambassador walked through a crowded city street. People smiled at him. He smiled back. No guards. No military escort. Nothing. I recognized the pattern again. Confidence. Humans were absurdly confident, even when they should not be. Especially when they should not be. The realization unsettled me. Then day 2 began. And 27 Dominion warships exploded at exactly the same moment. Not from enemy fire. Not from mechanical failure. They exploded from the inside, as if something hidden had awakened within them. The final transmission from one vessel contained a single sentence. A human voice. Calm. Almost amused. That was 1 second. For the first time in my career, fear entered my thoughts. And somewhere on Earth, the smiling ambassador looked up at the stars as if he already knew what would happen next. The second message arrived 63 seconds later. That was 2. I stared at the transmission. Around me, the command center had fallen silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. 27 warships had ceased to exist. The Dominion had lost fleets before. Never like this. Never without a battle. Never without an enemy in sight. I replayed every sensor record. Every frame. Every signal. Nothing. No attack signatures. No weapons. No vessels. Only sudden destruction. My mind searched desperately for logic. Humans had infiltrated our systems. That was the answer. It had to be. Humans were small. Weak. Fragile. Their tricks compensated for their limitations. I repeated that conclusion several times. The conclusion did not comfort me anymore. Then the third message arrived. 3. Nothing exploded. Nothing happened. For a moment, relief swept through the command center. Then every screen changed. Every screen. Across every ship. Across every station. Across every Dominion world. One image appeared. A human hand. Just a hand. Holding a small metal object. Beneath it were 6 words. We warned you about seconds. The transmission vanished. Panic replaced confusion. Now even the council was frightened. Emergency meetings began. Fleets repositioned. Security protocols activated. Entire worlds entered lockdown. Humans had somehow reached every network simultaneously. Nobody understood how. Least of all me. I requested permission for immediate planetary cleansing. The council refused. They wanted answers first. That decision would haunt them forever. Because the attack stopped. Completely. No explosions. No sabotage. No messages. Nothing. One day passed. Then another. Silence. I recognized the pattern immediately. The humans were exhausted. Their operation had ended. Their resources were depleted. Finally, something made sense. Humans struck hard. Then they collapsed. Classic predator behavior. Predictable. Understandable. Wrong. Again. On the morning of the third day, a distress signal arrived from the edge of Dominion territory. Then another. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Entire sectors reported chaos. Military depots emptied overnight. Supply chains failed. Navigation systems malfunctioned. Artificial intelligences shut themselves down. Power grids collapsed. No attacks. No explosions. Just failure. Everywhere. I watched reports flood my display. Each one seemed disconnected. Each one looked insignificant. Together they formed a nightmare. Humans had not attacked our fleet. They had attacked dependence. Every system we trusted. Every shortcut we relied upon. Every assumption beneath our civilization. For centuries, the Dominion had become efficient. Humans had studied that efficiency. Then they turned it into a weapon. A terrible realization struck me. The attacks had started long before the ultimatum. Years before. Perhaps decades. The human ambassador had not threatened us. He had informed us. The countdown was ours. Not theirs. Earth was never preparing to surrender. Earth was preparing to survive. A communication request suddenly appeared. The ambassador. I accepted instantly. His face filled the screen. Still smiling. Always smiling. I had begun to hate that smile. You infected our civilization, I said. The human tilted his head. No. Then explain this. We learned from you. I felt cold. My species did not experience cold through emotion. Yet I did. The ambassador folded his arms. You conquered thousands of worlds. Yes. You absorbed their technology. Yes. You connected everything together. I said nothing. The human nodded. Humans notice something. What? His smile faded slightly. The bigger something grows, the more things it can't afford to lose. I finally understood. Not completely, but enough. Humans had spent decades identifying weaknesses. Tiny weaknesses. Invisible weaknesses. Then they waited. Patiently. Quietly. Like predators. No. Not predators. Something worse. Survivors. The word entered my thoughts unexpectedly. Survivors. Every human action suddenly made sense. Their wars. Their risk-taking. Their stubbornness. Their refusal to surrender. I had assumed humans loved conflict. That was incorrect. Humans loved survival. Conflict was merely one of the tools. And survival was sacred. The ambassador looked directly into my eyes. Tell me something, strategist. I remained silent. What happens when a species evolves on a world trying to kill it? I knew the answer. Disease. Predators. Weather. Disasters. Scarcity. Earth's records contained endless catastrophes. The human continued. What happens when every generation survives something that should have destroyed it? Fear tightened around me. Not because I understood. Because I finally realized I never would. The human leaned closer. You thought our strength was violence. The smile returned. It isn't. The transmission ended. Minutes later, alarms erupted across headquarters. A fleet. A massive fleet. Appearing near Earth. I rushed to the observation deck. Thousands of vessels emerged from hyperspace. At first I felt relief. Reinforcements. Finally. Then sensor analysis arrived. The ships were not ours. They belonged to species we had conquered. Species we believed broken. Defeated. Extinct. Dozens of civilizations. United. Behind Earth. Behind humanity. I stared in disbelief. Impossible. Nobody united against the Dominion. Fear always prevented it. The answer struck me immediately. Humans. Humans had done this. But why would conquered species trust them? The answer arrived moments later. Captured communications. Thousands of messages. Millions. The same story repeated endlessly. When the Dominion arrived on a world, humans appeared. Not as rulers, not as conquerors, as helpers, engineers, doctors, teachers. They shared technology, food, knowledge, hope. I almost laughed. It sounded absurd. Humans helping others. There was no strategic value, no logical gain, no reason. Then I remembered another thing about humans. They constantly did things without reason, or perhaps without reasons I could understand. The coalition fleet advanced. Dominion defenses crumbled. Systems failed faster than we could repair them. Worlds surrendered. Not to humans. To reality. The war was already over. The Council finally authorized planetary cleansing. Too late. The order never reached the fleet. The network failed before transmission completed. Human sabotage. Maybe. Maybe not. At that point it no longer mattered. Days later, I stood alone aboard an evacuation vessel. The Dominion was finished. Not destroyed. Something worse. Defeated. I watched Earth slowly rotate beneath distant stars. Blue. Fragile. Unremarkable. The most dangerous world I had ever seen. A final message arrived. The human ambassador again. No threats this time. No smile either. Only exhaustion. We didn't want this. I believed him. Strangely, that frightened me more than everything else. Because for the first time, I understood one thing about humans. The thing I should have understood from the beginning. Humans do not fight because they believe they will win. Humans fight because they refuse to disappear. And once they decide to survive, reality itself becomes negotiable. Years later, historians would ask how the Dominion fell. They would study fleets, economics, strategy, politics. They would search for complex answers. They would be wrong. The answer was simple. We gave Earth 3 days to surrender. And humanity spent those 3 days reminding the galaxy why it was still alive. Humans kept fighting after death. Now I finally understood the report. It was never about bodies. It was about ideas. And ideas, I learned too late, are far harder to kill than the creatures that create them. The aliens gave Earth 3 days to surrender. Years later, the survivors would remember only one thing: the human ambassador was wrong. They didn't last 3 seconds.